Hey everyone, Coach Brad here. Are you still struggling to achieve the health, energy, and well being that you deserve and desire? If you're ready to end the struggle once and for all, check out my in demand Couch to Healthy 12-week wellness training program. What is Couch to Healthy, you ask? Couch to Healthy is a 12-week wellness transformation program designed to get you off the yo yo cycle once and for all and take back your health, energy, and happiness in a fun, easy, and sustainable manner. With Couch to Healthy, you'll learn how to create a CEO championship mindset for your health, learn healthy eating habits, learn how to exercise using the slow, easy method based on heart rate and age, and more. Be sure and click on the link in the show notes for more information and get it now while the price is still 50% off for a very limited time. How do you create a life that you love to live? One that is filled with contentment, happiness, peace, and passion. My guest today, Kevin Roth, will guide us through how to do just that. From the outside looking in, Kevin seemed to have the life most would dream of: money, fame, fortune, and an incredible music career. Yet something left him deeply unfulfilled in life. Then, in 2015, a medical diagnosis changed everything. In today's episode, we'll learn what that diagnosis was and how Kevin used it to, in his words, start living instead of dying. How did he do it? And how can you start living the life you are truly meant to live? Listen to learn more. Kevin Roth is an internationally known dulcimer player, singer, songwriter, and recording artist. He now works as a professional life coach living in San Diego, California. His new book, Between the Notes: Practical Ways to Find Your Inner Groove and Dance to a Beat That Makes Your Heart Sing, will be released in January 2023. For more information, visit his website at kevinroth.org.
All right, today on the podcast, I've got with me Kevin Roth. Kevin, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I read a little bit about your story and we were talking off camera, and I'm excited because your life, and we'll get into your story and your medical diagnosis and all that a little bit, but your life pre-diagnosis on the outside, to me, someone like me who doesn't know you, looked incredible. You're traveling the world, you're playing music, living life on the high, but you mentioned somewhere that it wasn't happy and it wasn't satisfying. So let's go back pre-medical diagnosis, which I think you said was in 2016. Is that right?
Well, yeah.
Or around there. So pre-diagnosis, medical diagnosis, I mean, you seem to be living life on the cusp. I mean, that's what I would call an extraordinary life, but it wasn't working for you. What was going on there?
Well, the life of a troubadour is not an easy one, although I had a lot of success making records and giving concerts. The ups and downs of a music career are difficult.
Mhm.
And what I really wanted to be was sort of a male version of Joni Mitchell.
Okay.
But I fell into, in the 70s, I became well known for the mountain dulcimer. And then in the 80s, I kind of by fluke ended up in children's music, which was very successful for me. I sang the theme to the hit PBS show Shining Time Station. But my
Right.
heart really wasn't into singing for children because it was sort of, in a sense, a musical demotion.
Okay.
Uh, Although I was happy to make the records and happy to have success, I wasn't particularly fulfilled as an artist.
Okay, what do you think was behind that lack of fulfillment?
Well, when you want to sing adult contemporary love songs, toddlers don't want to hear that, right? They want to
Oh,
hear
okay.
to be coming around the mountain and Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. So, career-wise, I was very successful. I sold records. I had a record
Right.
deal. I was on TV, but artistically, it just wasn't very satisfying. So
Okay.
one could call it selling out. but it wasn't a complete sellout because I did love the songs I wrote and the records I made. But it just wasn't exactly what I wanted to do.
Okay. And this was for how many years?
About 15.
Okay. And then so now fast forward, I guess a little bit, leading up to tell us about your diagnosis that was a life changer for you.
Well, I had moved from Florida, where I had been living, to Kansas to sort of figure out the next step in life.
Okay.
My sister lived in Kansas, and it was in Kansas that life imploded in the sense that just on a routine dermatology appointment, the doctor saw a small freckle that he didn't like, and that a few weeks later turned into basically melanoma. Within a few months, they discovered that it had spread. So I ended up being told I had stage 3 melanoma.
Mm-hmm.
So then I had to have a whole body scan to see if the cancer had spread anywhere else, and it hadn't, fortunately. But they said there was a 70% chance it would come back within a year, and then I would have about 2 or 3 years to live. So that's when I did a whole turnaround in my life, because there's nothing like a death sentence to wake you up.
Right. And I love how you write about it in your biography on Podmatch that you could either die, literally, like you said, a year or two, or at most three to live, or you could start living. And so, what did you choose? Obviously,
Well, obviously, I chose to live because I'm still
yeah,
here,
yeah.
cancer free. And in my book that's coming out February, it's called Between the Notes. It describes in more detail than I think we can get into here exactly what I did to change my life. But basically, I asked myself three questions: what mattered, why, and what was I going to do about it? And what I decided was that I didn't really need a career or a lot of money or anything if I was going to be dead in a couple of years. What I needed to do was to do only what I loved. So I decided to move back to San Diego, California, where I'd lived years ago, and just be a bohemian and be an artist and be happy and not worry about a career. So I literally just kind of created a life in my mind's eye and walked into it.
So you moved to San Diego then, and then that's when life really began to take off for you. So you made this choice to start living. What did that begin to look like for you? And you said you really redefined what happiness is and the definition of success and all of that. Tell us about that.
Okay, I assume we're on mute at this point, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we're recording. Yeah.
So what it looked like is I basically hung out with my dog Bosco, and I wrote some songs I liked, and I began to just enjoy my life instead of wondering where it was going or anything. So, I described to my clients, because I became a coach, a life coach, based on this experience. The first thing you have to know is, what don't you want in your life anymore? And what I didn't want was stress, aggravation, worry, and that constant pursuit of happiness. What I did want was to be artistic and free and happy and healthy. So that's the way I created my life. I just wrote music, and a year went, and of course, the cancer didn't come back while I was in Kansas, so I moved to San Diego. And then I realized that I had beaten the odds and that it wasn't going to come back. And it's been about 7 years. But I didn't like the old Kevin, so I stuck with the current one. And then someone said, you ought to become a life coach, and I didn't know what that was. And then I
Ah.
was told about it. And he said, yeah, you should use your dulcimer for relaxing meditation music and teach people how to change their life based on what you did. And that's what I did. And I absolutely love it.
So let's follow up with that. So how do people change their life?
Well, the first thing you need to do is to recognize that you want to change your life. Then you need to know what you don't want in your life and get very clear. And that's the process that I go through with clients, is we really get down to finding out who you are inside, what your heart and your mind says. And then based on that, there are certain tools that I teach people about balance and how to handle stress and different things. And we work through those as we kind of build your what I call creative life design.
And so how
So,
much,
mhm.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So we add all that in, and then a little bit of spiritual this and a little bit of that, and you got a happy life.
Wham, wham, bam, just like that. Why do you think so many people struggle with that then?
I think people are not aware of what their priorities are, and they're watching too much news, and they're just worried. Stress is one of the leading killers because it hurts the immune system. It causes cancers, and we're stressed out society.
Mhm.
COVID helped wake some of us up to the fact that life is not a dress rehearsal. What's interesting is that the people who come to me as clients have heard me on a podcast or seen me or know my music somewhere and have connected with, I guess, my message. And then we begin to develop a life based on what they want. And the first thing I do is to give them permission to be who they want to be. And,
I'm,
and it's easy.
yeah, I'm sorry to say I'm smiling because I can relate so much to what you're saying and your epiphany about, focusing on what you don't want versus focusing on what you do want. When I had that epiphany, gosh, years ago, that's what turned my whole life around too. Yeah. Yeah. Focusing on what you do want your life to be like and imagining what you want your life to be like. Yeah.
And that takes some investigation. That takes really, when I work with a client, I have them do some deep digging into their interests and into discovering what's working for them and what's not working for them. And, I work with doctors, I've worked with psychologists, I've worked with housewives, I worked with people who have lost their spouse and have to start over again. It's really the same principles that I use daily for my own life. So there's something called mindful awareness, which is that you're mindfully aware of how you feel.
Mhm.
And when you
And
recognize that you're stressed out, you want to change the way you think about things.
real quick, so when you say how you feel, you're talking about like I feel anxious or I feel frustrated or something like that. Is that kind of what you're
Yeah.
referring to? Kind of like the emotion part of it?
Yeah. I feel stressed out. Let's say you're going shopping for the holidays and you just feel really stressed out because of all the traffic and all the people. Most people just say, well, I got to go anyway. Well, you don't have to go. You can go at different times. You can order things online, and then you are not stressed out. It's a
So find,
choice.
yeah, finding a different solution to whatever you're looking at. Yeah.
Yeah, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Gosh, where have I heard that before?
That's Wayne Dyer.
Wayne Dyer. I was going to say Wayne Dyer. I was just listening to one of his podcasts this morning. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the one from me is when you replace what doesn't work in your life with what does work, you never go back to what doesn't work.
Mm. And so many people, and you're probably familiar with this, they always focus on the doing, like what's on my to-do list. And maybe perhaps for a while you did that, but when you had your wake up and turn things around, you started focusing on, you said a couple times, what kind of person do I want to be? And you started focusing on the being aspect of yourself. And
That's true.
yeah, and I think in well, America anyway, I don't know, other parts of the world, maybe other developed countries, Canada, Australia, Western Europe, and whatnot. It's the same where you get caught up by, I call it the hustle culture, do this, do this. If I'm not doing X, Y, Z, then I won't be happy. But it's actually the opposite. You started focusing on being the type of person you wanted. And the doing part kind of showed up, and it was not what you thought it might be. As you said, a life coach.
Yeah, people have a hole in their soul.
Mhm.
So they fill that emptiness or that confusion or that stress or pain with shopping, with buying things, with I've got to make more money, I have to have more love, I have to have this, I have to have that. And what people really need is they need themselves. They need to be able to sit with themselves and just be and be happy. and to realize that there's a great deal of happiness in simplicity. You know, I have a client who's very, very successful in business and he's stressed out. And our recent discussion is do you need to do everything you're doing? How successful, how much more money do you possibly need?
Um,
So you see, it's a vicious cycle that people get on.
so let's segue out that real quick. The word success. I know you've come up with your own definition of that. So what is success for you?
Being happy,
And
that's it.
what does it take to be happy then?
Being authentic, mindful awareness, having your health. It's a matter of really being comfortable with yourself and realizing that more isn't necessarily good. It can be, but you know, it doesn't need to be. You know, if you're in a lot of debt, you can't pay your mortgage or your rent or your car payments, you can downsize and live simply. You can move, which is what I did, to a different location. You can start over at any minute of the day when you decide that who you are, you want to change what that character life is like. All you need to do is get busy. I have, in fact, I haven't, almost forgotten about that. I have an online course that teaches people that. It's better with a one-to-one with a coach because what a coach does is keep you responsible for what you're doing. But the first step is to realize I'm unhappy and I need to do something about it.
No. And that's that mindful awareness that you talked about again, how you are feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
And then yeah, it seems so easy, like when we're just sitting here talking about it, like, just focus on that type of person you want to be. But so many people struggle with that. Let me ask you this. So even after your epiphany and your medical diagnosis and all that, there's an expression, I lose motivation or I fall off the horse or things like that. I struggled, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Did you experience any of that? And how did you deal with that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, happiness is not a constant. When you're dedicated to a better life and you're dedicated to wanting to be happy, as long as you can get up, as long as you can look up, you can get up. So you
I
have
like
to, yeah, you have to start over. You get back up on the horse. There are days, very infrequently, that I'm not particularly happy, but there are certain tools that I do that make me happier. So I don't expect to be happy every day, but I'm happy most of the time.
And these tools you keep mentioning, are these in your book,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
creative life design?
Well, the book is called Between the Notes,
Oh, okay.
and how to create sort of a groove life and a beat that you can dance to. Yes, in fact, the book talks about my journey and the lessons I learned. And then there actually is a chapter that asks 11 important questions for the reader to really dive into, which will give them a reflective point.
Can you share one of those questions with us?
Well, we did one of them already. What don't you want?
Okay, what don't you want?
And then what do you want and why do you want it? And what would you feel like if you don't accomplish that? What will you feel like if you do?
Hmm.
What's keeping you back? So there's a lot of questions. 11. Well, I have 11. I narrowed them down to 11.
Okay. So if I'm a brand new client, I'm sitting on the couch, I call it couch to healthy, but if I'm sitting on the couch and I'm, manic depression and I don't know, brink verge of suicide or something like that, what would you tell me?
Well, if I knew that that was the case, I would send you to a doctor because I'm not a psychiatrist.
Okay.
I'm a life coach. So if I hear that kind of depression, it's my duty to tell you to get professional help from someone that deals with manic depressive. Most of the people who come to me are slightly depressed, but they're not suicidal, thankfully. But I would steer a client like that to a to help, free help, or someone that they know.
So would you say your life today is night and day different from before your diagnosis in terms of your, I guess, inner peace?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I was invited to a holiday party, and normally I would just go
Mhm.
because I would feel obligated, and I would feel that, well, there's a lot of free food, but those aren't good enough reasons for me to go. I don't want to go anywhere I'm obligated, and
Mhm.
I don't need to go to a party just to get drunk and to feed my face. So instead, I decided to cook Christmas dinner here and just have one or two friends over.
Mhm.
So a lot of people during the holiday season get together with family that they really don't want to be with, or they go through things that they don't want to do, and because they feel obligated. That's not a way to live.
Yeah, yeah. How much of what you do, a lot of folks talk about, and you've mentioned some aspects of spirituality, how much of what you do is like a higher power, an inner intuition, any of that?
Well,
Aside from you.
everything is a higher power
Yeah.
because I teach non-duality as part of my regime. So there has to be some sort of a spiritual something that you would believe in, even if you're an atheist and you only believe in nature. So I work with people who are Christian, Jewish, all kinds of religions and non-religions and things like that, because I've been involved with that work for many, many years.
And so do you tap into your, like you just mentioned the example of, instead of going out to the holiday party, you cooked dinner and just had a couple friends over. Was that some sort of inner guidance, intuition nudge, or?
Yeah, yeah. I could kind of tell what that party was going to be about from different phone calls. And it was based around a lot of drama, not on my end, but on the other people's end. And I said, I don't want to be around that. So I don't want to go. So I didn't go. I cooked the turkey and I gave it to them, but I didn't go.
There you, I think that's important for anyone listening. Yeah, it's when you felt obligated, something didn't feel right about that, and then it felt more right to, have the friends over and cook dinner. So my point is, for anyone listening, it's that feeling, that inner feeling of what feels right and what doesn't feel right. I'm glancing at my notes here, Kevin. I want to ask you this one question. This is from your Podmatch bio page here, but what is true and lasting happiness?
Well, depending upon the person, true happiness comes and goes. That's the first thing you have to understand. And lasting happiness is based, I believe, on what you know and you've experienced that brings you out of the dark night of the soul or out of confusion or out of stress. And in my book, I teach about these certain tools. There's meditation, there's hiking, there's all kinds of things that you can do because everything is the mind, you see. So they're just thoughts. So if you're in a bad mood and you have to go to a party and someone calls you that you haven't heard from in 20 years, that's you've been with your old best friend, you're delighted. Oh, how are you? Well, what happened to that terrible mood you were in just 15 seconds ago? It changed. That's why what Wayne had said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It's just a thought. So you need to learn how to control your thoughts. And that's about balance, emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual. And that's another thing that I talk about and teach. You're not trapped by anything for very long.
Some people, unfortunately, they think that they are and that there is no way out, but that's, as you're saying, that is not true at all. There is always a way out. And are you saying it starts with your thoughts, your thinking?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's simpler than it seems.
yeah. One of my favorite sayings is you keep quoting Wayne Dyer. This is from Captain Jack Sparrow, Pirates of the Caribbean. That he always says, the problem is not the problem. The problem is your perception of the problem.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So that's a good one. Kevin, tell us more about your book again and your website and how folks can reach you, anything like that.
Well, you'll be able to get the book on my website and as well as Amazon and things. It's called Between the Notes. And at the end of 14 of the chapters, there are actually song lyrics. So if you go to my website, you can actually click a link and listen to the songs that go with each chapter. That'll be released, I believe, February 2nd of 2022 or 2023. Um, and my website is kevinroth.org. And if someone wants to reach out to me, there's a form you can fill out. And I do a 30-minute free Zoom consult to see if we're a match. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put your website in my show notes, and I've got your social media links also from your Podmatch page. Kevin, is there anything else that you would like to say or add that you haven't said already for the good of the order here?
No, I think we've covered a lot, and the rest is in my book. And it's just everybody's right to be as happy as you can possibly be.
Yeah.
So what you focus on is what you end up living.
That's the takeaway message for today. Yeah, what you focus on, you become, and why not focus on the best version of you? Real quick again before I do, and so going back to my theme today, how to create the life you love. I think, and you can let me know your thoughts on this, Kevin. I think we make life too complicated. I think life is really a lot meant to be simple, meant to be easy, and it can be that way.
Yeah, everything is the mind,
Yeah.
and the mind really doesn't exist. You can't open a brain and find a mind. There's nothing
Oh, it's
called
true.
a mind. So everything is ethereal, everything is consciousness. But you can change the mind just by changing the way you look at things,
Yeah.
like the example I used.
Yeah, change the mind like you would literally change a light bulb, take out the green one, put in a blue one or something like Christmas lights. Yeah, it's well, Kevin, let me ask you this too. Where do you see yourself going from now? Like you're continuing to just focus on your happiness and your inner joy and inner peace and continuing with your life coaching?
Yeah, and music, and I expect to do some personal engagements promoting the book, and then I also do retreats and online Zoom things. I'm not looking to be a rock star coach, meaning that I don't want thousands of people. I'm a very kind of low key guy who has terrific clients, and I only work with a handful or two at a time. And yeah, enjoy my life.
As we keep talking, like these thoughts keep popping into me, like literary spirit says, "Well, ask this, ask this."
Okay.
um, well, now I just lost my train of thought. So if I remember it, we'll do it like post show here, and then I can go back and add it in. But for anyone listening, I think, and Kevin, you can chime in. Yeah, the key really to living the life you love and that life of happiness is focus on who you want to be, that person, and get your thoughts to match that person that you want to be. And so Kevin, what do you do if a client says, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm, not worthy enough, something like that? Because those are people that have a lot of those thoughts too.
That ends within the first 20 minutes of our session. A client will never say that after working with me, ever. It's not about saying, I'm going to think this way and then my life is going to be this way. It's
Mm.
about saying, this area of my life sucks and I'm sick and tired of it and I'm done. And I need to know how to move from point A to point B. And
Yeah,
then you come see me. That's what it
that-
is.
that's the pain trigger. And then of course you got to know what is point B? What does point B look like? Yeah.
Well, whatever you do, it has to be authentic. So I work with all my clients in terms of what is your passion. People can make a lot of money or move to different places, but if you're not happy, what's the point? I had fame and fortune, and I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
Right. So, and also one thing I haven't mentioned, but I mention a lot is gratitude. You need to be really grateful for your health and for what's going on, and that helps a lot.
And you are cancer free now, so congratulations on that, and thank you for being here and for being the example, being the change that you wish to see in the world. It always starts with us. So if you are listening, also I want to say thank you for listening. And again, I'll put a link to Kevin's show notes or Kevin's website in my show notes, kevinroth.org. Kevin, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for being here today. I always enjoy these, and I learn a lot as a coach myself and everything. Always learning, always open to new things. So appreciate you being here, Kevin, and appreciate you, the listener. Again, wherever you do listen to your podcast, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave me a 5-star review. I would definitely appreciate that. And until next time, this is Coach Brad saying, be well, be safe, be happy, eat ice cream. Take care, everyone. Thank you. We'll see you next time.